So let's get straight to it. I am doing a new series on JD Vance. I find him very encouraging, very a lot of things he says very rewarding. Because I'm a guy of substance, most importantly, but also I got some criticism, and I hope that my criticism isn't taken the wrong way. Like I'm not pro Trump or I'm not pro Vance, whatever. I look at him like a brother from the Midwest. He's my Ohio brother. Just like I looked at Mike Pence. He's from Indiana. Like I'm for these guys from the Midwest. So I take it an honor that we got people from the Midwest that's in these high offices. They're running for these offices. But I have some criticism. So I already covered JD Vance at Catalyst Inc. I've already covered him when he was in Byron Center, Michigan, or I think that was the Catalyst Inc. And then I think he went to the Sterling Heights or Shelby Township Police Department. So those two events I covered already. Those videos are actually on my page. Go check them out. But this one is from the Milwaukee Police Association. Now, I'm not anti-union. Another thing, please don't get it twisted. I've worked in pro-union environments or non-union environments. I prefer non-union environments as a business person, small business owner. I see the pros and cons of both. I know the hindrances of both. And let's just say again, I'm not anti-union, but I'm not pro-union. I prefer working in non-union environments just because of the ease of things. But more importantly, I'm for right to work. I help pass right to work here in Michigan. Myself, Norm Hughes, and a lot of other former governor Rick Snyder, give him credit for that. And I would say our economy, job situations, and everything were far better. That's my personal opinion. Okay. So I'm not for big government. I'm not for the police class, and I'm not for unionizing if we don't have to. I believe unions at one point was for the little guy. But what I see now, especially with this new guy that's in charge over the unions now, at least with the big three and even the grocery areas, many people don't know the grocery stores are unionized outside of Walmart. But what I see is that the unions can get very radical, anti-business leadership, and I'm not for that type of leadership. So maybe it's probably good to say I'm not anti-organization, I'm not anti-unionizing or anti-union, but I am against any type of radical leadership that could be not for business or be anti-business. And at some point, a lot of these radical policies can be anti-business. Even what Kamala Harris just basically stated concerning different price fixings on the actual economy, dealing with grocery stores, etc. You don't want to put price fixes in place. Look, I have an MBA. I know economics, okay? And basic economics is all ran by supply and demand, scarcity. Those are things that the economy is ran by. So you start fixing things, not only that, but it can also drive out competition amongst grocery stores. So you can actually drive businesses out of business because there's different areas of things being fixed. So those are things that most people won't talk about. Those are things most people won't consider when looking at some of the things. And so when I look at the union, that's exactly what I'm looking at as well. I'm looking at the fact that you have police unions. I didn't know for a long time that the police had their own union. Like I didn't know for a while. I mean, I've known for a while now, but growing up, I didn't know that. When I was in business school, I don't think I really paid that much attention to that specific policy or that area of unionizing. But JD Vance, if he's listening and other supporters are listening, you can be pro police back to blue without being for the unions. And I only say that because this is very critical. The left is going to bring up right to work and how they're not for it and how bad it is, which I disagree wholeheartedly, and I can prove it from a practical academic standpoint, and I'll debate any of them on this, okay? Because I'm for the business employee. I'm for the little guy being in negotiations for himself, and generally the market and the economy knows how to balance those things out, and there's protections that you can have There's already a lot of governmental organizations that you can go to when there's any type of discrimination or a lot of other things. Just using Tesla, for example, Tesla is not a union environment. Walmart is not a union environment. And a lot of those environments are tougher to work in, but they're more rewarding. And I like the reward. You work hard, you're going to get paid more. I worked in environments where individuals did a fantastic job. I wanted to promote them since I hired and fired, and I couldn't do it because the unions wouldn't approve it, or they had a certain uh, um, amount that this particular person under this job code was going to be able to be. They pretty much maxed out at a certain amount. So trust me, it's a whole lot of down disadvantages to unionizing. Okay, that's just the truth, and we can debate all the other pro union things that you want to say, but that's what you have human resources for, HR, which is the science of being able to take care of employees. And I believe through a strong HR policy, you don't need unions as long as businesses cooperate and have the right relationships with their employees. You don't need that. Okay. But going back to police and JD Vance at um, the Milwaukee Police Association. I think this is a good thing. I don't think it's going to hurt them by meeting there. But I don't want to think and want it to be this partisan false narrative out here that, hey, because you're for the police union, you have that's the only way to be pro blue or back to blue or to support police. I do not agree with that. I think that's a false narrative. I think that's a false concept. You can support police, want strong public safety, and also you want the people that they're policing to be safe. So you want safety all the way around the board. You want safeguards in place. And again, the the police already have qualified immunity. So again, I don't want to touch on that topic again because I addressed that in former videos, but they already have a level of guidelines that they can't, if they operate outside of their duties, they can be held accountable. So I'm for the police. I'm for good cops. I understand there's a small minority of bad cops. I don't think the majority of them. I have people who disagree with me on that. I just talked to a libertarian guy just recently. He's a good friend of mine, and he don't like the police at all. He think they're all corrupt, and I don't share that particular perspective. I believe there's good cops, and I believe there's majority of good cops and very few bad cops. And there needs to be things in place to hold everyone accountable and keep everybody safe. But I just really want to touch on the unionizing aspect of police. Until we can get partisan politics out of a lot of these things, here is police, firefighters, medical people, law. I always use the example, Lady Liberty, she's blind when you walk into a courthouse. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Republican. You're supposed to be held by a standard of blind justice that you're innocent until proven guilty. And that's no matter who it is. Now, the media, again, has gotten overly politicized. So you see the biases in the narratives. You got to listen to this show, this CNN, to get this perspective, Fox to get another perspective. Well, why isn't journalism just all, objective and non-biased? It used to be a lot more like that and originally was like that. So that's my point. And what I want to kind of nail down on this interview is in this video with far as JD Vance going to the Milwaukee Police Union is that, hey, let's bring up right to work, because the left is going to bring up right to work. They're going to say how bad it is. So why aren't our business leaders and pro-business candidates and nominees and individuals seeking higher office talking more about right to work? I even went to the USA event in Detroit, Turning Point USA, and the right, at least from what I seen, it was I believe the national right to life booth, and it was completely empty. So it shows it was gutted. It shows that the unions have gotten stronger here in Michigan. Whether you agree or disagree, I disagree with that. I see things being worse because of that, not better. This is my personal opinion, but I think statistics and other things can prove that when it comes to economics and just what right to work is, that just simply means that the unions cannot force people to pay dues. I've talked to union members who don't want to pay dues. They think dues are too high. They disagree with the leadership, and then here it is, they're forced by law to pay union dues, etc. And I disagree with that. But I would say overall, I believe you can be for the police back the blue, and you don't have to be for the police unions, and I'm saying that in reference to JD Vance at the Milwaukee Police Association, which is a police union. But overall, he touched on a lot of topics. He's doing a great job of making sure fentanyl continues to stay out in the open. He has his wife on the campaign trail. And it's just there, he gives a good old boy, country boy vibe. When I talk to him, I think I understand his America very clear, and it's much more traditional to what I grew up in. To be honest, and this is despite skin color. I mean, it was at one point in America, certain things were basic things, believe it or not. It wasn't so radicalized and so crazy. You know what I mean? Stuff has gotten so far out of hand now. We don't know. A lot of people don't want you to know, or want you to believe, or want you to say what up is versus down, left and right. Like, we've gotten so far out of what traditional values are in this country, and we have to get that. We have to get that checked and get that back in line. So again, I find JD Vance encouraging. I find him very inspiring with his story. He continues to go deeper into his mother's addiction and just so many other things that he went through in his childhood, his grandmother. These are all things I resonate with. And it looks, balls to the walls, Tim Walls. Listen, if he had more things that I supported to me from him, I would support him, but he don't. I mean, he really don't. I'm just being honest. Minnesota is not the best place. When you go there, man, it's not good. Okay. I've been in areas, that he had control over, and it ain't the best. Okay. And I'm just being honest. So I don't understand how he even got promoted, but at the same time, maybe it's just his progressive values, that caused him to, and I hear it was a lot also dealing with the Arab and other lobbies that helped him get to where, as far as being in the VP pick, however, with Kamala Harris. But again, I disagree with the Kamala Harris ticket. I don't think that's an America I want to grow up in. I don't want my kids growing up in. I just want to be clear about that. I don't think that, her running as a woman or a black woman or ethnic woman is a wrong thing. I don't, even though I hear there's a lot of controversy around that, as far as her ethnicity and a lot of other things. And this video isn't about that, but we can do a video on that and I'll touch on that. But again, JD Vance, you can back the blue, you can love police, you can love being pro police, and you don't necessarily have to be unionized. And I think you set a very dangerous standard when you start aligning with partisan unions. And because at some point, where's right to work? I agree with right to work and freedom, where companies can barter and negotiate with their employees without all these other agendas and lobbies and all these other motives and agendas. And that's very important. If you've ever been in any type of corporate setting and you've seen how this works, the contracts you got to go over, you got to know the hindrances, the disadvantages. The illusion of more protection seems like a good thing until you get in situations where you want to make personal decisions for yourself and your family and you can't do it, or you want someone else to make those type of better decisions. Because again, you want to promote somebody and you can't because they're locked out. They in a certain job code, they can't do it. And you want to give them a raise and you can't. So it really does backfire. When you're talking about unions and unionizing and policies, because it becomes purely about politics at that point, and then people don't care. That's what's messed up the school systems, in my opinion. It's what's messed up the grocery industries. Well, Walmart clearly got the memo, and look how well they're doing. And then you see I think the police unions have played a big part in how the negative perceptions or the negatives for police officers. And again, this is my opinion. All right. Don't shoot the messenger, but this is how I feel about it. Okay. JD Vance at the Milwaukee Police Association. I think he did a fantastic job. I will continue to bring more of his speaking engagements because I believe he spoke at Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I'll be doing that because I lived in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So I want to hear what he said, what he brings to the table about it. I love that area. Again, was privileged to live in this area. So when I talk about Milwaukee, when I talk about Minnesota, when I talk about Eau Claire or Wisconsin, I've lived in these areas. So I know for a fact what it's like there. I know what it's like, the culture. I know how the people think. I was there right near St. Paul, very close before George Floyd, the whole rioting went off. Yeah, I was there and left right before all of that happened. So I just want to leave you with this video of JD Vance at the Milwaukee Police Association.